The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, what's up? This is Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Keepin' It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review nights 7 through 12 of the World Tag League and cover all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tee store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Young boy, we are 21 days away from Christmas.
I thought you were going to say we were 21 days away from Wrestle Kingdom, which is what I actually care about.
Well, Christmas is the first stop on the road to Wrestle Kingdom.
No, the first stop on the road to Wrestle Kingdom is the G1 final. That's the first stop. But I am looking forward to the road to Tokyo Dome with the snow falling out of the sky, provided Bushiroad has the funds to still do something like that for us fans. The yen is weak.
Yeah, yen is down.
The yen is down.
In the mud. Oh, man. Speaking of yen and money, we mentioned last week, we did record the FOH draft this past weekend, and that'll be coming out in the next couple weeks or so for you guys to purchase. I think we do a suggested donation of $5. We've had people give more, less. It's a pay what you want model. But yeah, this year's episode, I think another great one in the can.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to hear me get belligerently drunk and then take chops from everybody on the show live on the air, I think that this is probably the greatest argument for why we should probably move to video format for FOH in the future, because the audio, I'm sure, is incredible, but going forward, people probably want to see this shit. But
yeah, well, that'll be a little bit harder with all 4 of us live. Maybe if we're all on a computer, that would be easier. But yeah, with all 4 of us.
No, you just put a hard cam, just boom. And we'd all work the hard cam.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I haven't been to the PC, so I don't know how to work hard cam.
But yeah, man. The little spiel that I give every year, we do countless hours of audio covering New Japan, as well as the other hosts of the various different shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. And throughout the year, we don't charge for a thing, not a dime. And once a year, at the end of the year, me, Jeremy, James, Rich Latta III, we get together and we drink copious amounts of alcohol, and we basically light the wrestling industry ablaze as we draft the shittiest things that have occurred in wrestling and just shoot on them. And we do it in a drunken state, so most of it is probably not valid anyways, but it is a show that people have loved and have come to endear. And it's been 7 years of us doing this. And we do ask that you pay for it. And, my spiel is basically we give you all this other content for free. If you feel like this show and this network is any kind of blessing or benefit to you, then show us the love. CTC, cut the check, and send us a little cheddar, give us a taste. You know what I'm saying? Because it is the giving season, and we are moving into the holiday season, and we really appreciate it every year. And that money goes to benefit the show. So
there are these gimmicks that come in the mail called bills. we got to pay them. So yeah, we would definitely appreciate that once the link is live. So be on the lookout for that. Socialsuplex.com. That's where you'll be able to get all the info for that.
Everything has a cost, Jeremy. And that's what I learn more and more each year when I do the FOH draft, because, basically I was completely donezo yesterday. A little bit better today. Although I will let you know, all right, and we'll get into it. This week we're supposed to review how many nights of World Tag League action?
6. Yep.
And there was a stretch there where it was night, like 4 or 5 in a row. Yeah, bro. I don't know. Like, I feel like this is the first time that I've been defeated by the scheduling of a New Japan show or tour. Like, there was just no way, given the different responsibilities I have, given the amount of drinking that we did during FOH draft, that I was going to be able to watch all these shows. I think I got like to the tail end of night 9 before I had to kind of like tap out. And today I did plan to get around to watching the remaining shows, because yesterday I was supposed to do it, but I was incapacitated, severely hungover from FOH. Then today was not my day. I had a dental medical emergency that took up most of my time. I'm still here on the show doing the show, but like they say on Friends, when it hasn't been your day, your week, or your month, or even your year, well, today was not my day. And I haven't seen, I don't even know, how many shows did I miss? 3?
So you said you didn't watch today's, you didn't watch yesterday's,
right?
And then see Saturday's.
I don't know. I got up to like night 9, and I'm like halfway through night 9. I'll look on NJPW World.
Yeah, if you got to night 9, then you missed 10, 11, 12.
See, but they were each like the next day after the next day. Like, it just became untenable. Did you finish all this? I mean, did you find any difficulty here?
I did, but I did find difficulty and I did finish it, but I had it on in the background when I was doing stuff. So, I didn't have my full 100%. Like, I didn't, wasn't taking notes. I didn't give anything really star ratings. And I just watched the tournament matches. And of course, we didn't have any English commentary. So,
yeah, and that's been another, I hate to do it. I don't want to put Chris and I was about to say Kevin and Walker, throw them under the bus. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what is causing the delays or the issues, but we've been critical in the past of New Japan Pro Wrestling when it comes to their production snafus, more specifically, mostly surrounding the U.S. shows, with the camera work and the lighting and the sound and everything like that. Very rarely do we have to criticize what's going on when it comes to commentary, but there have been numerous times recently where they said that, the English commentary was, coming shortly, and it didn't come shortly. And by the time it got uploaded with a tour that's this busy, there's no way to go back and re-listen to it. Now, normally that would be fine. Like, I'm not the kind of viewer that can't listen to the Japanese audio, but I know that there's a lot of Western fans that are the opposite. And when you're trying to maintain this audience and this fan base, you kind of need to have that audio, especially if you've sort of said that it was going to happen and it would be a short delay, and then instead it's like a week or 2 week delay. Now we were told that even though there was going to be, video on demand for the English for the remainder of the tour, that the finals were going to have live English audio. And there was a tweet sent out today that there's a snafu and they're not going to be able to do that, and that it's going to be uploaded they didn't specify a specific time. They just said shortly after. We don't know what shortly after is, because shortly after lately has been like a week and a half. So that's not good when you're talking about the last major show of the company's year before Wrestle Kingdom. And it's honestly at this point, and I hate to say it this way, but it's just the truth. It is unacceptable, especially when you're talking about the third or fourth largest company in wrestling. You're talking about AEW, WWE, CMLL, and New Japan. Like, those are your big four essentially. It's not acceptable, especially since we're like 9 years into the English broadcasting side of things. Like, if this was 2014, that'd be different, but it's not. It's 2023 going on to 2024, and it sucks.
Yeah, and you have a lot of fans that are, they're not the diehard Shinihon freaks that don't power through Japanese commentary. There is a group of fans that kind of jumped in during a time where most major shows have English commentary, and that's all they listen to. They don't want to listen to Japanese. Also, for us, we've been watching for a while. We know the days of a lot of shows not having English commentary. Some shows not having any commentary at all. A single cam show. We're used to that, so we can power through the Japanese commentary. And I love Milano Collection AT. I think also I don't understand what he's saying, but just his enthusiasm and his afflections, and I think he adds a lot to the matches that he calls. But also English is language we understand, and I think there's a lot of story. I mean, a lot of stuff that happens that you kind of miss without somebody either translating or additional commentary in the mix.
Well, for me, it kind of became a give and take. I basically had to make a decision given the time constraints. Do I watch the entire show at 2x speed so I can fit it all in, or do I just watch the tournament matches at regular speed? And that was kind of what I was doing for a majority of the tournament. Was I was watching the entirety of the card at 2x. But when you're watching at 2x like that and you don't have the English behind it, you are losing some of unless you're paying really close attention, you are missing some of the story notes. Obviously, you can fill some of that in yourself, and there is a great community online, but that only goes so far. It is a benefit to have someone that can understand Japanese, like Chris Charlton on the call, who can break down what is being said between the different Japanese domestic speakers, whether that's a post-show comment or sometimes there's been just some I don't want to say skits. What would you call it?
Just promos or
like promos and angles. I don't know why I forgot the word angle, but and not having that there has been a detriment. And then because of the fact that the shows have been so close together for so many days, it became to the point where I couldn't even follow the show anyways. But had I had English, it might have made it that much easier to keep up with what's going on in the tournament. And I mean, this, again, we've said this many times on the show, this is not our first rodeo. It's not our first time around when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling. We've been doing this show since 2017, and I've never found, and I'm enjoying the tournament for sure. And I do plan to go back and catch up probably tomorrow and the next day and get back on track. But I have never found a tour this daunting when it comes to just keeping up, because how many days it's all spaced together. I'm sure there's a Super Juniors or a G1 that probably are close to this, but this feels like, damn, dude, you did like 5 or 6 nights
in a row. Yeah,
it's been a week. Last week that's 7 days. They did 6 shows in 7 days, and we got more coming. Like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, good thing the plane's about to land. We got the finals on Sunday, so we'll review the finals next week and be officially on the road to the Tokyo Dome. Before we jump in the tournament, 2 things. First of all, our year-end awards. We're working on those. That should be hopefully coming out sometime towards the end of next week. I've been working on a new format on the forum to make it more mobile friendly for you guys. So that should help with participation and voting. And we've got a couple categories locked down for nominees, and we'll be finishing that, get the ballot out for you guys to vote for our awards. Then
we're going to add a new category this year, biggest departure. The departure that you felt the most for the year 2023.
And then it is the first episode of December, which means we got to do November match of the month and wrestler of the month. So Josh, tell the people who are, or I guess what our match of the month is.
Yeah, so I mean, it's probably no surprise to anybody listening. The November match of the month was the match at, what was that, Power Struggle?
Yeah.
The main event match between Will Ospreay and Shota Umino, as Will Ospreay defended the US/UK IWGP title for the very last time in what many people consider a 5-star classic. Very likely a strong match of the year contender. And go back and listen to our review of the match, because we waxed poetic about how much we love that match and how much of a star-making performance we thought it was for Shota Umino. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I don't know what this guy's even going to be doing at Wrestle Kingdom. We'll see if maybe he'll make the Rambo. I don't know. But at the time, we thought it was a big deal.
There's 20 spots open on that pre-show.
I want to cry.
Sad. Oh man. So the wrestlers of the month are gonna go to Shota Umino and Ren Narita, 2 of the 3 Musketeers. They are having a great World Tag League. They are one of the top teams so far as match quality. And so yeah, they've been having a great month. And then you top on, like you mentioned, the Ospreay Umino match to Umino's resume for November. It's kind of hard not to go with that team.
You could also throw in the Narita 6-man tag team challenge at New Japan Road, which was an incredible match as well.
Yeah, so these guys had some stuff outside the tournament, in the tournament. So yeah, great November for the Roughneck and the Son of Strong style. Well, now let's talk about the tournament. First 2 questions. First from Rambone Slam Pig. He says that despite my gripes, I have sincerely enjoyed this edition of World Tag League so far more than any previous one I have watched. Is the company taking tag teams a little more seriously as they look to find spots for all the older guys downcycling and young guys coming in?
It's a great question. I've also enjoyed the tournament as well. I don't know if I could sit here today looking at the booking of the tournament and everything and say this is certainly an indication that they're going to take tag team wrestling more seriously moving forward. I don't know that that's the case, although I hope it is. I would like that to be the direction, but very often, World Tag League's not that different in a certain sense to, say, Best of the Super Juniors. It's a tour where we highlight an aspect of New Japan's promotional, ideology. But when it's all said and done, everything kind of shakes back into its regular slot and rotation when it's all said and done. But yeah, I do think that a few things will be set up moving forward. Usually there's 2 to 3 primary tag teams that kind of come out of the tournament and maintain their position as the premier tag teams of that calendar year. And we'll probably know a little bit more who those, teams actually are moving forward when this is all said and done.
Yeah. And even though tag team wrestling is not, a big focus for New Japan year round, I do feel like they like to try to have, the 4 kind of teams that they throw in the rotation in both divisions. We've seen with the junior tag division, they've kind of restocked. And so, now you have Catch 22, Jet Setters, Bullet Club War Dogs with Clark and Maloney. And so you kind of have that, Doki and Taka. You kind of have like these kind of mainstay teams that are kind of set in the division now. And then you look at the tag division now, we've had a lot of teams leaving. So, you have TMDK, Bishamon, and now you're establishing some other teams in this tournament. Looks like, Monster Sauce is going to be established. You have ELP, and Hikuleo's a new team. So they do like to have teams kind of that are there that, because there are tag title matches usually every month. So you got to have some kind of challengers. So the tournament has done a great job of kind of reloading some of those mainstay tag teams that we'll see throughout the year. Then next question here from Def Triangle 720. Do you think Tag League is doing a good job of showcasing some of the talent and letting the crowds connect with them, specifically the younger talent?
Well, I think that in terms of promoting the teams, yes, they're getting utilized. They're getting a lot of different opportunities up and down the card night after night. And slowly but surely, I'm sure that will pay off. But keep in mind that this tour doesn't just run in the major cities like some of the other tours. Like we've hardly seen any, like, say, Tokyo or Corkin nights. A lot of the shows are sort of your bigger gymnasiums, smaller towns, like B shows that they're running a majority of the time. And the crowd seem to be not necessarily the most enthusiastic New Japan crowds, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying that they've been lackadaisical, but they also haven't been rabid and hot for any particular teams, in particular. It seems like maybe this is a small sample of what we might see moving forward once they start running some of these tag teams throughout the calendar year.
Mm-hmm. It almost seems like some towns that were almost like still kind of like clap restrictions. I know they're not, but like there are some crowds where it seemed like they were only clapping and not really cheering. But
yeah.
So yeah, but overall, I do think it has been a good platform to get guys, like Suji and Umino and Narita out there, getting them some reps, bringing in the CMLL guys, establishing Monster Sauce. I think it has done there's been a lot of talent that have been established in here.
One thing I know we're about to jump into the actual review of the blocks and everything, and you're gonna spoil me on all the matches that I haven't watched yet. But I just want to point something out for the show. Listen to this. You hear anything?
No, I don't.
I am rocking back and forth in my new ergonomic office chair that no longer squeaks. So not only is it a benefit to my posture and my back health, but it's also a benefit to the show in that you don't have to hear the incessant squeak every time I move every couple seconds. So, thank you to my girlfriend for benefiting the show and your listening experience.
Man, end of an era.
I guess it never bothered me, but I Chris wouldn't shut up about it. So,
now let's look at the tournament here. So we'll start in the A block where we have 3 teams alive going into this week's action. So on top of the block, currently leading, we have the TMDK team of hysterical Shane Hayes and a mad Mikey Nichols. So they are 5-1 with 10 points. On night 7, they lost to Ishii and Yano, but then they rebounded on night 9 by defeating Kaito Kiyomiya and Rihoi Oiwa. And then on night 11, they defeated Ren Narita and Shota Umino, knocking the Musketeers out of contention for the semifinals.
Yeah, I think that has been very likely the most controversial booking decision of the entirety of the tournament. And not just because, there are those individuals that were predicting, and it wasn't just this show, it was many different shows, many different experts and analysts and, pro freaks that really saw the possibility of Narita and Umino going to the Final Four at the minimum as pretty much a surefire thing, and that kind of includes us. And so the fact that they were knocked out of the tournament by TMDK has been very controversial, to say the least. But speaking of Shane Hayes and Mikey Nichols, I mean, it's something we've been saying since day one when they got to this company and they, kind of reformed their tag team. They're just quite simply one of the best tag teams in the world. They had an incredible run in this tournament last year, and here they are again, and they're, dare I say it, better than they were last year. They seem more comfortable. Um, they are a bit more seasoned, and they're doing really, really well. The only thing is, and it's really, I have nothing against Team DK. I actually think they're one of the best tag teams out there. But given the fact that this is a point we mentioned last week, given the fact that they have challenged for the IWGP heavyweight tag team titles so many times in just the past calendar year alone and failed each time, it seems a little bit short-sighted to have them at the top of the block. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against them going as one of the top two finalists from A Block, or even a finalist. And if they were to win this tournament, I'd be fine with that too, provided they turn around and win the titles from Bishamon finally. And maybe that is where we're heading. And that would certainly like set up a new dominant tag team in New Japan's tag team division. They are, like Chris Charlton has said on commentary many times, the best current day tag team that has never won the IWGP tag team titles. But at the same time, one has to wonder, should we be putting more juice behind these guys right now in terms of timing when they just failed so many times recently? If it was just once or twice, that would be one thing, but it's been 3 times.
Yeah, I feel like the past booking has really kind of come to kind of rear its head with this decision. And again, like you said, I love TMDK. Hayes and Nichols, they're a great tag team. I've been loving the post-show promos that they've been doing every night because they've been in a lot of main events, and Hayes has been closing the show with his promos. And, they're a solid tag team. Theoretically, if you told me, hey, TMDK is going to be on the top of the block, I'd be any year. But, yeah, that makes sense. But, yeah,
right.
the fact that they have failed so many times this year alone in winning the IWGP Tag Team Championships, it is kind of head-scratching to be like, all right, why are we now pulling the trigger on these guys to potentially set up another Bishamon match at the Tokyo Dome? I feel like if they knew that Team DK was going to be a team they were going to go with, maybe you save some of those title defenses and make them a more credible challenger, make them a challenger people want to see face Bishamon in Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, I mean, I had to be sure for myself. So yes, in February at the New Beginning in Sapporo, they lost to Bishamon. In April of this year at Satsuma no Kuni, they lost to Aussie Open, who were the champions at that time. And then in September of this year, Destruction in Kobe, they lost to Bishamon again. So if they do happen to go to next year's Tokyo Dome as the tournament winners, they'll be facing off against Bishamon. And I mean, at that point, you have to put the titles on them, which, and again, both of us have said the same point. We have no problem with TMDK being the world tag team champions of New Japan. That's fine. It's just, why did you have them lose 3 times heading into it? Like, what was that necessary? I don't know.
Yeah.
The other thing too, and I mean, again, Ren Narita, Shota Umino, Reiwa Musketeers. They did literally the video special that did you get a chance to watch that stuff, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of got a little bit of a feel for what I was mentioning, how much promotion they put behind them as a tag team. And not only that, but going back to the G1 this past year and everything that was kind of building to them in the A block, and then even going just, back a year with both of those guys coming back from excursion and what that meant and all these failed opportunities. And who knows, maybe they are building a story out of it, but it feels like after a year of them being here, and I know I've done the whole thing in the past about, it's okay for these guys to fail in big spots and for there to be delayed gratification when it comes to paying off their stories. But let's not mince words here. The IWGP tag team titles, in terms of guys that are your future of the company, that's sort of a consolation prize. Like, that's a stepping stone for where we hypothetically see stars the caliber of Narita and Umino heading. So it's not like this was the final destination, provided they went to the Tokyo Dome and challenged for these titles. But here we are, over a year gone from them coming back, and you know, we're 13 nights, 12 nights in, and they're already knocked out of the tournament at the hands of Team DK, who've failed to win the title 3 times this year. It's a little, like you said, Jeremy, head scratching. I don't know why we're doing that, because even if you weren't going to send Narita and Umino into the finals, that's okay. But they should have at least been in the final 4 or in the finals, and maybe you could do a big angle come, World Tag League Finals. And maybe they will, but we're not getting that right now. Right now, like, all the air and the hype has been deflated, and we're just left with, 2 guys that, quite frankly, in the terms of the way the fans probably seen it, are failing.
Yeah, and again, like you mentioned, why not even? They didn't even do it the A block final night. They did it the night before the A block final night and completely killed them dead. Like,
it reminds me of the kind of booking that we saw from, and this is a little different, but it's similar philosophy when Kiyomiya got, everyone thought Kiyomiya was going to do a certain level when it came to the G1, and then he got knocked out, and then we ended up with Hikuleo against Naito, which was head scratching, and this is also again head scratching, and this is another in a long string. I mean, bro, we should. I know I'm kind of like spoiling the lead here, but I let New Japan, you guys listen to the FOH draft. I'm telling you, you want to listen to that audio. But in the second round, I gave New Japan some fucking heat, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't draft Gato. And we're getting to the point where maybe we should be drafting Gato, because there's some very questionable booking things going on in this company. And, a few weeks ago, I don't remember exactly when it was before they went off on their hiatus, but I was listening to JCast and they were like, maybe it's time for a change at the top. And they were talking about, every booker has their shelf life for how long they can stay relevant and meaningful and affect business. And there's a reason for a while now we've been saying that we're not in the quote unquote golden age of New Japan. And that's not all Gato's fault, but we were so optimistic this past year when we moved into the new year. And there were certain periods where we're like, all right, we're on the uptick. Things are going good. But then the G1 hit, and everything post G1 has been bewildering. And this is another in a long string of bewildering decisions. And I don't fucking get it. So congrats to TMDK. Number 1 in the block, 5-1.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, they have been having good matches. Like their past string of matches this past
they've been great.
Yeah, the Umino Narita match, well, that was a great match. The Kiyomiya Oyo match was a lot of fun in the Ishii match. So again,
I really when I watched the Night 9 match, I thought like TMDK are Noah's exes that they're telling their current boyfriend, Kiyomiya and Oiwa not to worry about, but they don't actually measure up to them.
So the other team that is alive is Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano. So they are 4-2 with 8 points. So like we said, night 7 they defeated TMDK, and then they picked up 2 more wins on night 9. They defeated Ren Narita and Shota Umino. And night 11, they defeated Kaito Kiyomiya and Ryohei Oiwa.
This is another thing where I look kind of stupid as a, New Japan cover person, podcast or whatever, because last week I said that teams like Ishii and Yano were kind of starting to take a back seat to some of the more promising uprising teams and stars in this company.
Well, that's what it seemed like. It seemed like, all right, we put the established teams in here to help get the new teams over, and the established teams are not going to get through.
Right. And I mean, it's one, and again, it's something I said last week as well. I said Ishii and Yano are one of those teams where they always do well in this tournament, but there is a shelf life for how long that can happen, similar to the way that, like in the Super Juniors. Taguchi used to always go far, and that was something you could always count on. But eventually, his luck ran out, and you kind of were like, okay, well that's sort of done now. And I thought we were reaching that point when it came to Ishii and Yano, especially since I'm trying to look right now, like, but I get the feeling, and maybe I'm wrong here, but like, I don't know. Have Ishii and Yano ever even held the IW? Okay,
Yes, they have, yeah.
They held the titles in January of 2017 until June or until March of 2017. So that's one. Did they ever hold them again? Nope. Have they ever won this tournament? Like,
No.
I don't think so. And I'm wondering, like, what is the point? Like, we're backwards here. Okay, we're pushing Ishii as a top act in the World Tag League when he needs to be getting pushed as a top act in the G1. The wrong fucking tournament, the wrong time to push the guy. It's not December, it's August. What the fuck are you doing, Gato? But there's no reason for it. Like, there really isn't, because there's no upside. I love Ishii and Yano, another team that is doing well. They're having great matches, but they're at a point in their shelf life as a team where they should just, because they hardly even tag team together during the calendar year. I was surprised to see them as a team in the block in the first place.
They've shifted away from the Ishii Yano tag team the past couple of years. We've mainly had the Bebop tag team with Tanahashi and Yano, and then Ishii's kind of been floating around. He's mainly been doing Never Six-Man stuff. So, yeah, it's kind of reverting back to something they did in the past. And, yeah, it's a team that they're two older veterans. I feel like Yano really hasn't even been featured a lot this year in New Japan, and maybe that's why they're doing it. But, yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's the beneficial thing to do here.
Maybe it's one of those things where we just don't get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they connect with the domestic audience on a level that we're just not privy to, and maybe they're going to be the 100th IWGP Tag Team Champions come January 4th in the Tokyo Dome. And if that's the case, good on them. Maybe we'll get an all chaos tag team match in the Tokyo Dome, because at this point, I don't know what the fuck we're doing for that match, So might as well just go all in. Bishamon versus Ishii and Yano. Let's have at it. Chaos Civil War.
Get double gold Ishii.
Yeah, double gold Ishii. What other title does he have?
The Never Six-Man.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, double gold Ishii. But Team Hoff, Hall of Fame. But I don't know. I don't get it. I'm bewildered. And didn't they lose like a pretty big match on the first night to maybe I'm conflating a few different things there, but yeah, I just don't get it, man. I'm a little lost there. Seriously.
Yeah, same here. Again, their performances have been really good, especially Ishii. He's been also carrying a load in a lot of these matches, and I thought the exchanges he had, like with Narita and Umino in that match, were really great. And him and Kiyomiya mixing it up were great. So Ishii, no surprise, stellar performances. But looking at the actual booking, it is again head scratching why these guys are still alive in one of the three teams that are going to make it to the semifinals. So the third team that is still alive is the Bullet Club War Dogs team of Alex Coughlin and Gabe Kidd. So they are also 4-2 with 8 points. So they lost to the Gates of Agony on night 7, and then they defeated the United Empire team of Great Okan and Hanare on night 9. And night 11, they defeated the House of Torture team of Evil and Yujiro Takahashi.
So I've spoken quite a bit about their run through the tournament up to this point. Last week, I'm glad to see that they are one of the three teams that are alive, because young and up and coming team, top talent, they deserve to be here. I'm excited to see what the company has in store for them moving forward. But I have only seen one of these matches, and that was the Gates of Agony match where they lost, which, Gates of Agony needed a bone at that point. But I'm up to, literally on night 9, I had just started the match with United Empire. I wasn't sure who won there. So Jeremy, you tell me how you see their run at this point in the tournament over these 3 nights. I'm not sure what's even going on with them.
Yeah, so I think this has definitely been kind of I'm looking for the phrase here. I guess maybe the shining point of the booking here. You know, we want young, new tag teams being pushed to the forefront, and they're at least they're going with one here in this block with the War Dogs, and complete turn from their performance last year booking wise. Last year they had good matches but lost pretty much all their matches. This year they're having good matches and they're winning. They're alive, and a lot of the stuff that they've been doing is great. The whole kind of they're just the intensity and attacking people from behind. The United Empire match, lots of story there. So Gabe Kidd is facing Will Ospreay December, I think it's 16th or 19th for the Rev Pro Uprising show, and so they've been building that, and so the whole match, Kidd is calling out Ospreay. He's like, "Look what I'm doing to your boys, mate!" And he's just beating the crap out of those guys, and he's hitting Os cutters, and he's really trying to get under the skin of Will Ospreay. So there's a lot of story there in that matchup, and they got the win. And so Gabe Kidd kind of has a puffed out chest going into the Ospreay match, and then today's show against House of Torture, it's your Bullet Club versus Bullet Club. Lots of ref bump shenanigans. These guys were brawling all over the place. You've probably seen the clip of Gabe Kidd doing the crossbody off the top of the balcony to these guys. So that was a wild, crazy spot.
I saw that. Who did they do that to specifically?
To House of Torture.
Okay. So, I mean, is this forwarding any of the tensions that were teased between the Bullet Club groups, or no?
So Gato came out with the mallet, and he was holding off House of Torture to allow Gabe Kidd and Coughlin to get the win. So that happened. But I don't really know. Like, there was no follow up. I didn't watch the backstage promos with translation, so I don't know what the follow up is. Are they actually moving forward, or again, is that just kind of an isolated thing because you had the two teams facing off against each other?
Gotcha. Okay. Nonetheless, this is a team that I'm very much into. They were probably our number 2 pick for Wrestlers of the Month in November, and who knows the way it's going, they might win December. But I'm glad to see that they're throwing them a bone. Coughlin couldn't get a free shirt for his family, in the pandemic, so hopefully a trophy will suffice.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that I think I'm wanting out of the A block to get to the finals. I know we did see them against Bishamon earlier this year in July twice. So they did the back-to-back double title match, strong title match night 1, and the IWGP night 2. Those are good matches, and so I would be down to get War Dogs on the Tokyo Dome in this match.
Well, we're going to move on, but before we do, all the other teams that are in this block are effectively eliminated. So with that being the case, real quick, let's discuss. So you basically got the Chaos team of Ishii and Yano, Coughlin and Kidd alive, and then Shane Hayes and Mike Nichols. And I mean, putting the math aside, I would like to see the two teams that come out of this be the War Dogs and TMDK, because that's the only thing that really makes any logical sense to me. If Chaos gets through, we're doing something wrong at this point.
Yeah.
And amongst the other things that have been done wrong already.
Yeah, so, and here's a scenario here. So, Yano and Ishii control their destiny come the A block final night. If they lose, then War Dogs versus TMDK is for first and second. But if they win, then they've clinched a spot into the semifinals.
Well, that's unfortunate. I mean, I would hope, I would like to see them do exactly what you described. Chaos loses, and then the main event is both guys are in, but we're trying to figure out who's going to get 1 and 2 for the advantage. But that is counter to the way that Gato would typically book. Normally, he would book it to where like Ishii and Yano get in, and the other two guys are duking it out to be the last ones to get in. Am I right? Is that how it would go at that point?
That's how he normally books it. Ishii and Yano, they are facing Okan and Hinare on the last A block night, which that's a team I could see them losing to.
I could see them losing too.
And then you could make the main event War Dogs TMDK first, second place match. It'd be a little bit different of what Gato typically books for a semifinal tournament, but it could happen.
Well, so if Chaos wins and they're in automatically, then the match between Coglin or War Dogs and TMDK, is that basically the winner gets in, or is it a situation where what's happening at that point?
So if Ishii and Yano win, that brings them up to 10 points, and then Hayes and Nichols already at 10. So if TMDK win, they would get to 12. So they'd be first. Ishii and Yano would be second. But if the War Dogs win, then they would be 10, and they would have the tiebreaker over TMDK. So then they'd be first, and Ishii and Yano would be second.
Gotcha. Okay. Just trying to be clear here. Okay. So that makes sense. So I'm hoping we don't do that. I'm hoping we don't do the situation where, if Chaos wins and then it's TMDK and War Dogs fighting for survival. I would much rather Chaos loses, and then at that point, it's like, oh, we know in the main event, we know who's going through, but who's going 1 and who's going 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then regardless of who's 1 and who's 2, one of those two teams gets eliminated going into the finals, so we don't wind up with a rematch regardless.
Right.
All right. So I guess we could talk about the rest of the block.
Yes, like you mentioned, all the other teams here, they are eliminated. They have no mathematical chance of advancing. So like we were talking about, the Reiwa Three Musketeers, Shota, Umino, Ren, Narita. So they're currently sitting at 3-3 with 6 points. Night 7, they defeated Kaito Kiyomiya and Ryohei Oiwa. Night 9, losing to Ishii and Yano. And night 11, like we mentioned, dropping to TMDK, which was the match that knocked them out.
Yeah. I think that Umino and Narita have been a fantastic tag team in this tournament. Obviously, we awarded them as the Wrestlers of the Month for November. I really loved the match with Kiyomiya and Oiwa. It delivered on all the levels that I thought it would. In fact, I think that might be so far from me, from what I've seen up to this point. Again, haven't seen past night 9, but to me, that was the match of the tournament so far. But I've heard, and maybe you can tell me, Jeremy, I heard that the match they had with Ishii and Yano was like incredible.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, just again, the exchanges that they were having between Ishii and Narita and Ishii and Umino, and the closing stretch with Ishii and Umino was so great. And then Ishii was able to hit the brainbuster on Umino to get the pin. So yeah, that was a really fun matchup. I still think the Kiyomiya and Oiwa match is probably better, but still, that was another fun matchup here. But the sad thing we mentioned, like these guys, they had great matches. They're one of the top in-ring performing teams of the tournament. We gave them the Wrestlers of the Month for November, but the booking here has them eliminated, before the last A block night, and now these guys seemingly have no destiny for the Tokyo Dome. We have a lot of questions here about this. Rambo and Slam Pig says, where do the youth go from here? Was it a mistake to not push Shota and Ren at least to the semifinals? I am bummed about it.
Without repeating too many of the same things that we've already mentioned, yes, I do believe that it was a mistake. However, the only thing you can hope for is they've got some alternate story planned out. Maybe, the teasing of dissension between these guys. And, the idea that they were going to coexist was a farce. And this is actually going to drive strife between the two men and maybe forge a greater rivalry in the long run.
Yeah, and Chris Charlton made a good point on Twitter. He said that the key point on Umino and Narita is it's been a ride or die on Umino. 3 pins for Shota, 3 losses, all while Shota is legal. Now, how does Narita feel? I would imagine now more than ever he wants to create movement on his own, one way or another. So I think that this could lead to Narita being like, all right, Umino failed me here in this tournament. He's the one that got pinned all 3 times. I need to break it on my own. Maybe we do get this Umino Narita singles match of the Dome.
Yeah, but at that point, you're like almost making Narita the Owen to Umino would be the Owen to like Narita's Brett,
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's the heel. I don't know.
Then Dragon Master Adam says, what the F is wrong with Gato, Shota, and Narita not making it to the finals at least? Do you think Umino versus Narita at Wrestle Kingdom is the only acceptable outcome from this?
No, honestly, I don't think that that's personally really an acceptable outcome. Although maybe I would change my mind on it as things develop. But right now, that doesn't feel like a good enough consolation prize. And quite frankly, the way that the card has kind of evened out, that almost feels like it would be relegated to an undercard, or not even an undercard, but like a pre-show match right now, which is not what either guy should be doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of matches on that card, and I know that the show is going to be starting earlier, so I think they're going to probably start squeeze some more stuff on the main card. However, where is this match going to go? It's not going to go towards the ending. It'll probably be like an opener, second match kind of match, and it's not going to get a ton of time. They're probably going to get like 10 minutes.
Right. Speaking of Wrestle Kingdom, I should just throw it out there. Got the time off today, January 4th and 5th, long weekend, baby.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to be off like 3 weeks, the last 2 weeks of December and that first week January.
Nice.
So yeah, Wrestle Kingdom season, baby. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with these guys. DJ Aftershock says, where do all the returning young lions go after being rather unspectacularly eliminated from World Tag League? Shota, Narita, Tsuji, and Oiwa are all out. Uemura is the only one left. This is out of a tournament where I had both Shota, Narita, and Taichi Uemura in the finals.
I don't know if I'm as optimistic about the placement of both those teams, but almost everybody was in agreement with you. They thought that it made sense to have Narita and Umino, and given the way they pushed Umino in particular this past year. I don't know. It's bewildering. And given the fact that they were supposed to have a youth movement and be, escalating the push and the movement of these younger returning from excursion guys to stardom. Plus the fact that, when I say stardom, I mean superstardom, not the women's promotion. And given the fact that we've had so many people leave New Japan in recent years, it feels like the time is now to start elevating and positioning these guys. And I'm not saying they needed to be in the main event or fighting for the new supposed white belt against Ospreay in particular, although that would have been cool, but something. But right now, we're like a month out, and we don't know what any of them are doing, and the viability of them doing anything that's actually meaningful is very limited, very unlikely, and it's a bit depressing, and it's an indictment on the booking. It seems like booking malpractice amongst other things that are already on the card. Like, I'm not going to get into it, but this is not the greatest Wrestle Kingdom card you've ever seen, and this doesn't help.
And the thing that makes this whole Umino Narita decision even worse is the fact that they're following this up with the great match that Umino had against Ospreay at Power Struggle, a match of the year contender, a star-making performance. Like, there's so much goodwill for Umino after that match. He had so much momentum after that. And then I feel like they just kind of like popped the balloon here by having him, being out. Like I said, maybe we need to, quote unquote, let it play out and it will all make sense in the end. But right now it's not making sense. And I feel like if I am, he lost Ospreay, but it was a great match. Like, I would follow that up with him winning this tournament.
Right. And and we'll move on. But what are we doing? Like what I know that we need to let it play out, and I know that okay, like for instance, I've said in the past, Gato loves to book heartbreaks, but the heartbreak shouldn't be taking place on night 11 of the World Tag Leagues. You know, you do that at the finals, you do that in the Tokyo Dome or something of that nature. You don't do it in a unspecified gymnasium on night 11 of the tag leagues, especially considering how great their run has been in the tournament thus far. And even just this past week, look at the great matches they had with Team Noah and then Chaos and then Team DK. Those are three of the best matches of the entire tournament back to back to back. And now they're out. So what are we doing? And maybe we'll sound like fools when we listen back to this audio when they do the big angle on World Tag League Finals this coming Sunday. But right now, it just feels like fuck, bro. Why?
Well, the thing is, you can't really book a lot of heartbreak when people are leaving the company. Like, you need to create new stars. You need to start pushing people. You need to make people look like winners and stars. Like, you don't really have the, leniency to be doing this, 3 year. We're going to beat them for 3 years and then they're finally going to triumph. Like, we need to start hot-shotting some guys and making them stars. So the next team, Great Okan and Hanare, they are also 3-3 with 6 points. Night 7, they defeated the House of Torture in 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Night 9, they lost to the War Dogs. And night 11, they defeated the Gates of Agony.
Yeah, so again, I'm only up to night 7 in this block, realistically. I didn't see the other 2 matches, but they did beat these men in 2 minutes and 38 seconds, the House of Torture.
Got him out of there quick.
Cheating. Let's hear it for cheating.
Yeah, I'm really glad that match was so short. And then, like I already talked about the War Dogs match. The Gates of Agony match was pretty interesting. They had Hanare and Toa Leona kind of facing off. Both of the island kind of background. They were like doing the haka to each other and kind of doing the primal screams and stuff like that. So they built an interesting story there between those guys. But ultimately, they got the win, and there seems to be a tease of Hanare, Okan, and some third member of the Empire challenging Gates of Agony and Brian Cage for the Ring of Honor 6-man titles. We do have Final Battle coming up in a couple of weeks, so maybe we'll see.
You have Final Battle coming up. I do not.
Well, I just mean in general. I will, if there's a great match I watch, I will not be ordering Final Battle.
You don't even have to order it, bro. That's how bad it is. All you got to do is subscribe to Honor Club for $9.99 and you can watch it. But you're not even willing to pay the $9.99 just to subscribe.
I'll put on my Zandakon Jr. eye patch and watch it, find a way after the show's been out, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh my god, a pirate podcaster.
But yeah, so they're teasing United Empire against Mogul Embassy for the ROH 6-man titles.
Nothing screams Mogul Embassy more than Brian the Machine Cage. Mogul. When I think of Jay-Z, I think of Brian Cage.
Oh man, I wish they would have brought Nana over with these guys for the tour. That would have been a lot of fun.
But he wouldn't be able to do the Blue League or whatever the fuck it is.
Well, he's not allowed to anyway because there's no seconds in the Continental Classic.
Well, this just shows you I'm not watching that shit.
We had a question here from the Discord daddy MJSPR. It says, I really love the Gates of Agony versus United Empire match. The in-match storytelling between Hanare and Toa Leona was top-notch. How difficult is it to design a match like that and hit all those story beats for just one match against opponents you've never wrestled before?
I don't know, bro. I've only had 2 matches, and they were all laid out for me, so... And I didn't see this match, so I can't really speak to it too much, but I will be checking it out.
Yeah, I mean, we know that kind of the New Japan style thing is that they don't really plan out a lot of stuff. I know with Toa and Khan not being totally familiar with that style, maybe they did plan some more stuff out here, but I thought they did a good job. And yeah, I thought Toa and Hanare both looked good in there together. So the next team here, Kaito Kiyomiya and Ryohei Oiwa, they are 2-4 at 4 points. Night 7, they lost to, Night 7, they lost to Narita and Umino. Night 9, they lost to TMDK. And night 11, they lost to the Chaos team of Ishii and Yano.
We got questions.
Rambone Slam Pig says, was eliminating Oiwa and Kiyomiya on the same day as Shota and Ren specifically designed as a taunt to all of the fans clamoring for the youth to be placed in prominent spots? Is this some kind of meta heat thing Gato was putting us through to make the breakthrough better?
I don't know, maybe, but they didn't push. I mean, bro, Kiyomiya lost his feud with with Okada with no hint of a follow-up ever to be heard of again. He lost, his bid in the G1, didn't even make it as a finalist, and now he's in the World Tag League, and he didn't even he's not going to be a finalist in this thing either, even though this team has had a really great run. It's bewildering again. And granted, only so many teams could have gotten through. I'm not saying it needed to be all of these teams that I liked, because it is a stacked tournament. There's a lot of great teams, but the fact that there's this many people sitting out and you've got two, veteran teams still in the A block is, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting Kiyomiya and Oiwa to be on top. Just based off of Kiyomiya's New Japan booking, and then B, Oiwa's still a young lion. He's on excursion. He's not fully back in his full form. So I was expecting him to eat a lot of pins, which he did this past week.
One thing I will say, if hypothetically on any level New Japan had any aspiration to obtain the services of one Kaito Kiyomiya, this is not the way you do it. All right, you do what Tony Khan did. You roll out the red carpet for just Will Ospreay, and then you sign his ass. That's what New Japan should have been doing with Kiyomiya, if in fact they wanted the guy. I don't even know if they do want the guy, but this doesn't scream good business, relations between them and Noah, and it doesn't scream a lot of faith and confidence in Kiyomiya. It's a weird philosophy. I don't really support it, and I'm wondering what's the point. Like, I love the idea of having all these international teams and interpromotional shit, but when you got the ace of the other company in there, you push the fucking ace. I don't get it.
Well, clearly they don't see him as an ace in New Japan.
and they don't in Noah either. And Noah is not without blame, because once again, they've allowed their top guy, or was top guy. I don't know. I don't watch the company, but that's my understanding. He was for many years. He was always slotted that way and booked and pushed that way until recent times. Why are you letting this guy go up to this point, 2-4? And why are you doing favors for New Japan by trying to build up the future of their company in Oiwa while to the detriment of your company? What the fuck are you doing?
Right, you're trying to tell me there's not somebody else on the Noah roster that they could have stuck Oiwa with that's, a mid-carder, upper mid-carder, and not their top main event guy?
Bro, fuck that. Oiwa's not coming to our company. You do that to Kiyomiya, that's it. We don't work together ever again. Okay? Kiyomiya should have never been allowed to work a G1 or to headline with Okada and be hoed the way that he has. And now he's getting hoed once again. And you know what that makes Noah look like? A bunch of fucking hoes, bro. What are we doing?
Makes him look like Noah trash.
Yeah, this is terrible. And I don't like it. I personally don't like it at all. I don't think that this is a good way to do business. Just like I don't like it when AEW does it to New Japan. I don't like it when New Japan does it to Noah because it's not beneficial to the overall ecosystem of professional wrestling as a whole. You can't treat stars this way because it's to the detriment of the business overall. It doesn't make sense. There's no money in it.
Yeah. Well, moving on here, we have Evil and Yujiro Takahashi. They're sitting at 2-4 at 4 points on night 7. They lost to the United Empire. Night 9, they defeated the Gates of Agony. And night 11, they lost to the War Dogs. And we had a question here from Templar235. Says, so did anybody really think Gates of Agony had joined House of Torture? Seemed like an obvious angle, but it got reported by WON, for example.
I do think that there were quite a few people that were not actually watching the tournament and just saw the highlight, Gates of Agony join House of Torture. There were a lot of people that thought it was real. I mean, I don't think that, present company ever believed that that was what was actually taking place, considering the fact that they were facing House of Torture the very next tournament evening. But I do think a lot of people thought it was real.
Yeah, like you mentioned, yeah, especially with big sites like Wrestling Observer and Fightful, all kind of putting this thing out. They've joined House of Torture, and like I made a joke about it in our group chat. I'm like, Swerve sending some of these boys, unsupervised, messing around with the wrong folks. But it was all a ruse for them to try and get a one up on them the following night, which backfired on them, which made Gates of Agony look really dumb. That they did this whole plan and totally blew up in their face. Yeah, they still lost.
Yeah. So, the one thing I can say, 2-4, good job, Gato. House of Torture, losers.
Maybe Gato's not all so bad after all.
Not all bad, just some bad.
Then the last team here, Gates of Agony, Bishop Khan, Toa Leona. They are 1-5. 2 points. Night 7, they got their first win by defeating the War Dogs. Night 9, losing to House of Torture. And night 11, they lost to the United Empire. And we had a question here from Rambone Slam Pig. Any thoughts on how Gates of Agony have performed on this tour that benefits of a mini excursion for talent like them? And if it meets a need for NJPW to provide a variety and fresh matchups with outsiders who don't need to be super protected?
I don't agree with that, to be honest with you. I think that they don't need to be at the tip top of the tournament necessarily, but they shouldn't be 1-5. And the only kind of person I think this would appeal to are those who hate the idea of AEW having any success in New Japan, and they want to stick it to old TK, and they're like, fuck yeah, Mox can't lose, but we're gonna show the Gates of Agony, Like, I don't know. I don't see where's the money in this. How does this benefit anybody? Sure, they are a younger tag team not in terms of age, but in terms of ring time and experience. They are getting a taste of Japan. They are getting a lot of ring time in a short period of time, and they're getting to work with a lot of different opponents, and it is a great experience for them from that aspect. But they should be protected to some degree. Otherwise, they can't ever come back. And it also doesn't do them any favors when, not that AEW is going to even acknowledge what occurred in this tournament, other than the fact they'll be like, they just competed in the World Tag League.
They just came back from Japan.
They were competing in the World Tag League. But other than that, it's not like this is going to be acknowledged. But for New Japan, if you wanted to bring them back, the same way how they've cultivated, the ability to bring back, say, Lance Archer, who's not super pushed in AEW, it's pretty much done. What's the point? You killed them. They're 1-5. Last week we were talking about how they still looked strong, had the eye of the fire and all that. And granted, I didn't see night 9 and night 11, but or actually I did see night 9. I saw them lose to House of Torture, and that's where I was like, damn, They lost to House of Torture after they were supposed to have outsmarted them. They look like fucking losers. Everything I said last week has been negated. What is the point? You know?
Yeah, it looked like absolute geeks after that whole angle. So yeah, I think, for them as workers, I think it's beneficial for them to wrestle in a different company, get experience wrestling other people. I think it's beneficial for them, but it does hurt their stock. Like, why would a New Japan fan want this team to come back next year with them only being 1-5, potentially going to be like 2-6? Maybe they can win their last match.
Right. And me as a pragmatist, I don't want to see them back for their own sake because they're not getting booked well. The matches have been good. Crowd reaction's been fine, but they should be doing better. 1-5 is just fucking ridiculous. That's terrible.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the B block. So we have 4 teams that are still alive on top of the B block. So first team here, Monster Sauce, Lance Archer, and Alex Zane. They are 4-2 with 8 points. On night 8, they defeated Just 5 Guys, team of Taichi and Yuya Uemura. Night 10, they lost to Minoru Suzuki and Yuji Nagata. And then night 12, they lost to Yota Tsuji and Zandokan Jr.
So they were undefeated until the final 2 nights here.
Yeah.
Okay. So momentum is not on their side, but they are still sitting at the, at a tight spot for the top of the block. I really enjoy the team. They have a lot of just incredibly innovative offense, a lot of really cool stuff that they do, the blending of their styles. I enjoy them as a tag team quite a bit. Wouldn't be surprised if by the time we're talking next week, they're not in the top 4, or, I guess by the time we talk next week, the tournament will be over, huh?
Yeah, finals are on Sunday, so next week we'll be reviewing the finals.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make it to the final 4, but I'm glad to see them here at the top, and I feel like they really are one of the few teams that, they only teamed together for one tour prior to this. It was just a few times. They feel established. Like, this could actually be something moving forward, provided they want to continue with it.
Yeah, I love this team. They worked and gel so well together, just from their look to all the in-ring double team combos they're doing. I love the choke slam into the moonsault that they do. They have a thing where Alex Zane looks like he's going to tilt-a-whirl Archer. He tilt-a-whirls him into a cannonball to the opponent in the corner. They just have all these cool, innovative double teams. And Archer, for a big guy, he's flying around just as much as Zane is. And he's bringing a lot of intensity and energy. A lot of these quiet crowds, Archer gets in there, he gets them fired up, and he's doing the primal screams and just flying all over the place. So, yeah, this has been probably one of my favorite teams to watch in the B block, and I hope they get through to the semifinals. Like, I think they should be like an established team. AEW doesn't really do much with Archer anyway, and when they do use him, he's jobbing to somebody. I would love for them to find a way to make Monster Sauce a more regular team in the future.
Yeah, I agree.
And I love the match with Suzuki. Archer, obviously history there with Archer being a former member of Suzuki-gun, and he brought a Suzuki-gun shirt at the match, and he said, "We were brothers," and he threw it down. He's like, "But not tonight. Tonight we compete." And so fun stuff there. So it was an interesting interaction with Suzuki and Archer in the ring. And after the match, Suzuki gave respect to Archer and Zane. And then the match with Tsuji and Zandokan Jr., seeing Tsuji and Archer mix it up was really fun. And so that was another fun match. I definitely recommend checking that one out. We had a question here from Barry Walsh. Says, with Alex Zane still over like mad in Japan and doing great in the ring, on top of being over, and with Will also leaving, how well do you see him doing in AEW when they sign him after New Japan drags their feet again?
And this is Archer?
Zane.
I'm not convinced that they 100% will sign him, although they probably should.
Yeah, I think that's the point he's making. He feels like New Japan's going to drop the ball and let AEW sign Zane before they sign him.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a possibility. But it's one of those things where it's like I think there's only so much to right now the way I see it, and I'm not trying to be negative in any way. I think that Alex Zane is a top talent in certain regards, but I don't think he's a complete package at this current time. I think that there's definitely upside and things there's a foundation to build on. And I feel like the tag team with him and Archer is one of those things for sure. But I don't currently see, like, for instance, if what we're trying to say is that Zayn should replace someone the ilk of like Osprey as a top of the card act. I just don't see it current day. I'm not saying that he couldn't develop into that, but um, that's not where I see him personally at this point in time.
Yeah, I agree. I think New Japan should sign him, and use him more in Japan. I mean, we do see how over he is and the whole Taco Bell sponsorship and the whole combo deal there. I think he would definitely be an asset to New Japan, and maybe you could build him to the point where he does become a top foreigner. But I think the one cool thing, that's the cool thing about Osprey leaving, is it does open the door for potential new foreigners to come in and be elevated. You know, we have the War Dogs, and then you have a guy like Alex Zane, where with Osprey out of the way, you could potentially elevate a guy like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had questions recently about where we saw all these different kind of foreigners and in the light of Will Osprey leaving. And the reality is they've got quite a pipeline of top end talent when it comes to Gaijin talent out there.
Yeah. So next team here from Just Five Guys, Taichi and Yuya Uemura. They are also 4-2 with 8 points. Night 8 dropping to Monster Sauce. Night 10 they rebounded by defeating the CMLL team of Atlantis Jr. and Soberano Jr. And then on night 12 they lost to the Rogue Army.
Yeah, this is another team that one of the comments earlier mentioned that they had Taichi and Uemura, going to the finals, and I think they kind of alluded to the idea that they were knocked out. So, again, I wasn't privy to where everybody was, but they're not knocked out. They're literally tied for first place, so they're doing really well. And Uemura is one of the few young guys that is still in the running.
Yeah, I think that the question earlier was saying that they were hoping that you would get this young final and have Umino and Narita again in there against Taichi and Uemura, kind of linking those guys together. But yeah, they're doing well. I think they've been a fun team. They've been gelling well together. And what do you make? I think we might have talked about it last week, but I don't remember. Like, there's been a lot of people that kind of saying that Uemura kind of seems like he's not interested, or he kind of has a boo-boo face, or he's not fully in it. I know you haven't seen all the matches, but from what you've seen so far, are you getting that kind of vibe from Uemura?
I was initially, but as they've been winning, I haven't seen so much of that. I don't know if maybe that was just kind of tied around the storyline that was playing out on screen for those few nights with him and Tsuji. And maybe it's not so much centered around a full tournament narrative, but I don't know. I haven't seen all these nights. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think he's looking good. I don't kind of see what a lot of people are saying, like, oh, he's not fully there, he's not fully drawn. I think he's looked really, really good. I just feel like his aesthetic doesn't really fit Just Five Guys, and maybe that's part of the issue. He has this whole heat storm. And, he looks and sounds like this, kind of classic baby face, but he's kind of in this weird group with Just Five Guys, and he has this kind of bright colors, and they're more dark colors. So I think it's just a weird dynamic, and he's, I think, trying to find his footing there. But he's been having some really good matches here, and these guys here are top of the block. I did shake my head when I saw him, eat a Bad Luck Fall and get pinned by Bad Luck Fale today. But
well, you know how it is with that. Anybody gets hit with that Bad Luck Fall, it doesn't matter who they are. That's it.
Yeah, but of all of the things, like, really, we need to pin Uemura with Fale. Come on. But besides that, yeah, Taichi and Uemura, they're sitting good right here.
Yes, but at the same time, like you said, they just took a loss to Bad Luck Fale and the Rogue Army. So, they've lost two out of their last three. They're not necessarily in the most, they don't have all the momentum behind them, and neither do Monster Sauce, but they're sitting at the top of the block.
Yeah. Well, another team that also has 8 points that are 4-2 are the strong openweight tag team champions Hikuleo and El Phantasmo, the Guerrillas of Destiny. So night 8, they defeated Suzuki and Nagata. Night 10, they defeated the Rogue Army. And then on night 12, they defeated the CMLL team of Atlantis Jr. and Soberano Jr.
Yeah. Again, last week I mentioned how this was a team that, even though from an aesthetic and storyline standpoint, I wasn't necessarily the most invested in them, I do feel like they've made strides and improvements through the course of this tournament. Obviously, they are the current reigning strong openweight tag team champions. So that also kind of accounts for something, but they're getting quite the push here. And the last match I saw of theirs was the Suzuki Nagata match, which they picked up the win there. But they're 3 for 3. They in the last 3 nights, they've got the actual momentum that I was saying was lacking from the first two teams. They've got that behind them. And how many more actual tournament nights does B Block have?
So the
Two or one?
Let me see. They have, so the A block final night is December 6th, and then the B block final night is December 7th. So there's only one more night of B block action.
Okay, gotcha. So again, with these 4 teams, we're looking, and I guess we'll talk scenarios here, but I won't be surprised if Hikuleo and El Phantasmo, given the type of push and given how many main events they've had throughout the tour, if they don't wind up being a finalist or one of the top 2 teams coming out of B block.
Yeah, and they are the strong tag champions, and they did defeat Bishamon in the tournament as well. So they position them really good here. They are champions, so I can definitely see them going into the Final Four. And like you said, they picked up some momentum. They've had a lot of fun matches. ELP mixing it up with Soberano and Atlantis was cool to watch today. Lots of flips. So yeah, these guys have picked things up here. Then the last team that's still alive are the IWGP Tag Team Champions, Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. They are 3-2-1 with 7 points. So on night 8, they wrestled the CMLL team to a 30-minute time limit draw. Then night 10, they defeated Tsuji and Zandokan Jr. And then night 12, they defeated Suzuki and Nagata.
Yes. So that time limit draw was quite something. That's one of the few ever time limit draws in the history of the World Tag League. And actually, I think it's the only time limit draw in the history of the World Tag League as the tournament name is known today. But in the course of the history of the various different iterations of this tournament in New Japan history, there's only been a couple. So that was pretty surprising. And that does kind of lead me to believe that we might see ourselves in a situation where Bishamon are just kind of sitting outside of contention to get into a top 4 spot based on that draw.
Yeah, so here's what the final situation looks like. So for the B block final night, it's going to be Girls of Destiny versus Monster Sauce, and then Bishamon versus Just 5 Guys. So all 4 teams that are alive are facing each other. So it's going to be win and you're in for both those matches.
Okay, so for essentially all 4 teams, you win the match, you get in, period.
Yeah. So yeah, because GOD and Monster Sauce, they're both at 8, so the winner would get to 10. And then Just 5 Guys and Goto and Yoshihashi, if 5 Guys wins, they get to 10. If Goto and Yoshihashi win, then they get to 9.
Here's my only question with that then. Why do the time limit draw?
Well, again, maybe you want to get Goto and Yoshihashi to 9, maybe? I don't know. For some reason, I don't know.
Sure. I mean, yeah, if you want them to be one of the finalists and go in as number 2, but there's so many teams that have already beaten them that have the tiebreaker regardless. That just seems weird to me, you know?
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe they were just trying to give some shine to Soberano and Atlantis Junior.
Without beating them, but
Yeah.
showing that they were, a team that were able to go the distance with them. Sure. I
Yeah.
mean, that's fine. It was a great match. I thought the points would matter a little bit more down the stretch, but that's
Yeah.
fine.
Unless maybe that's the sign that they want Bishamon to go through. Maybe Monster Sauce beats God, and then you have Bishamon beat Taichi and Uemura, and they go through with 9 points.
I don't know. I mean, it's like what you said, basically, win and you're in for each team. So that whole time limit draw is weird to me, regardless.
So out of these teams that are alive, who would you want to see go into the semis?
Sure. So you said it's Monster Sauce versus God.
Yep.
Okay. And then conversely, you got just 5 guys against Bishamon.
Yeah.
See, that's a tough one because Bishamon is 3-2-1, and I don't know if I love the idea of. I don't love the idea of Bishamon going to the Final Four, but I don't love the idea of them being 3-1 at the end of the day when their tournament's wrapped up. That seems not the greatest when you're talking about like the top tag team in the country or in the in the company.
Right. Yeah. Normally a champion, if they're not making to the finals, they're at least like second place.
Right. Then again, I mean, the fan of me, I want to see Taichi and Uemura go to the finals. But I don't know if that's feasible given the situation they're in. I'll say it like this: I would rather see Taichi and Uemura go through, but based on the point totals, I bet you Bishamon's probably going through.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. Like, why else do the draw? And I can understand wanting them to go to the semifinals. Like, they are the tag champions. Like, they are, one of the best teams in the company, like kayfabe wise. So you would want those. You would think those guys would at least get to the semifinals. So yeah, they can get to semis, lose to a team from A block, and not make it to the finals.
And then on the other side of things, I really like Lance Archer and Alex Zane quite a bit. They might even be my favorite tag team in this block that are still alive. But I get the feeling that I think the 2 tag team champions are going through. I think we'll see God number 1 for the B block and number 2 Bishamon.
I'm gonna go with Monster Sauce just for the fact that they already lost to God this year on one of those New Japan Strong shows. So I think this could be them getting their win back. You can do another title match with them, and then you get them into the semis.
Sure. Okay. Well, then let's talk about. Well, I guess we should move. We can talk about final scenarios here in a bit. Let's wrap up with these other teams that are losers.
So with 6 points, we have Yota Tsuji and Zandokan Jr. They're 3-3. Night 8, they lost to the Rogue Army. Night 10, they lost to Bishamon. And then night 12, they got a win over Monster Sauce.
One of the kind of talking points I saw sort of bandied about online was that Zandokan Jr. was making a play to potentially be an official LIJ member. I don't know if there's any truth to that. Have you seen anything?
So the post-match promo, again, obviously wasn't translated yet, so I was just putting pieces together, but Tsuji did say something like Zandokan Jr., Los Ingobernables, and Naito and Shingo were both on commentary, and he called out Naito Shingo, and he said something like Zandokan Jr., Los Ingobernables, so it does sound like he was kind of asking or saying, I don't know, that he wants Zandokan to be a part of the group.
Well, they already have Titan as an official member of the group, and he is sort of the representative remaining from CMLL. Zandokan also wrestles there. I haven't gotten around to being able to start my official watch of CMLL, although I do plan on it. But I don't know what the relation between those two individuals is like. Back in the day, for a quick history lesson for those who are not aware, Los Ingobernables de Japón, LIJ, is the offshoot brand of Los Ingobernables from CMLL back in the day, which, was a huge group at the time consisting of Rouge and La Sombra and
Terrible.
Yeah, El Terrible. And I don't think there is currently a Los Ingobernables group in CMLL. I don't even know what the legality of using that name right now even is, but I wouldn't be opposed to the idea of there being another Los Ingobernables group or an LIJ representative in CMLL, kind of strengthen that relationship, kind of piggybacking off some of the work that's been done with Teton and then some of the relations that have been strengthened with Rocky over the past year.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I think Xanacon Jr. is awesome. He fits everything about LIJ. So, yeah, I think it'd be super cool if they did go forward and add him to the group. And, yeah, you can have him and Teton team in Mexico together.
Yeah, plus, Fantastica Mania is right around the corner. I don't know if they've announced Xanacon as someone on that tour, but I would love to have him back soon.
Yeah. So another team, Atlantis Jr. and Soberano Jr., they are 2-3-1 with 5 points. Like we mentioned, they had the 30-minute time limit draw on night 8 with Bishamon. Night 10, they lost to Taichi and Uemura. And then on night 12, they lost to Phantasmo and Hikuleo.
This booking, the 2-3-1, is the kind of booking that, like, say, for instance, Gates of Agony probably should have received, Mm-hmm. You win some, you have some great showings. You lose a little bit more than you win, but you have the big statement match against the champions going the distance. And, night in, night out, you get a lot of great experience. The fans come to know you more. And when Atlantis and Soberano come back next year for CMLL is going to push them, but also when they come back as part of the Fantastica Mania tour, which granted, New Japan audience is not strangers to these names, but they'll be even more over. This is the way you utilize outside tag teams and talent when you have them.
Yeah. And they've been a lot of fun to watch. I think it's been great to have a CMLL team in this tournament. Lots of flips. Again, when they were in there, Phantasmo, that was a lot of fun to watch. And they can throw the hard hitting too. They're throwing some hard chops in there with Taichi and Uemura on night 10.
I noticed that they've been throwing some big chops and big elbows, and that's one of the things that it is kind of a bit of a shock when you watch Lucha Libre. Very often, they're not really throwing believable hard hitting strikes like you're used to in, say, Puroresu, but these guys kind of, they got they understood the assignment. They're out there banging.
Yeah. And then the Bishamon match was a really fun match, and I was not expecting them to go the time limit draw, because like you mentioned, it's been so rare in World Tag League that you see these kind of draws, and so yeah, they went the time limit, and that was a really fun main event. So next team, Rogue Army, Bad Luck Fale, and Jack Bonza. They are 2-4 at 4 points. Night 8, they defeated Suji and Xanacon. Night 10, they lost to Phantasmo and Hikuleo. And then on night 12, they defeated Taichi and Uemura.
Yeah, they're there to make the math work, beat some guys to spoil them, beat some guys to bring them down so the point totals make a little bit more sense. And, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Bondo's been fine. Fale is Fale. Yeah.
He likes to stand on guys' backs. That's his thing.
Tongan massage parlor.
Yeah.
And the last
he likes to swindle guys out of their money for intakes. It is what it is.
Then the last team here, Yuji Nagata and
was it worth it?
Minoru Suzuki. They're 1-5 with 2 points. Night 8, they lost to Phantasmo Hikuleo. Night 10, they got their first win over Zayn and Archer. And then on night 12, they lost to Bishamon.
Yeah, when you told me that they beat Monster Sauce, I was surprised by that because they've already lost so many matches in the tournament, and then they turn around and dropped another one to Bishamon. So, you know, I don't know. There's no love lost between these two guys. They've had dissension the entire time. It's been a fun little experiment. This is sort of what you expect to see with dads in the tournament, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I'll see, like you mentioned, it's the whole, can they coexist? No. They've been, chopping for tags and arguing with each other. And even the one match they did win, Suzuki showed respect to Archer and Zayn, and he walked right past Nagata. Even though Nagata was the one that got the win for the team in that match.
Well, that's going to do it for our review of the blocks. Let's jump into upcoming nights. So this coming Wednesday, the 6th, World Tag League Night 13 A Block Finals from Karatsu Athletic Stadium. We open up the show with Atlantis Jr., Soberano Jr., Tiger Mask, and Hanma taking on the LIJ team Ibushi, Shingo, Tsuji, and a mystery partner.
Xanacon. Sorry, I copied this from Cage Match. They haven't.
I was like, who are they teaming with? Who did I miss?
They didn't update the card.
With Z. And then second match of the night, Monster Sauce and Wato team up to take on the GOD team of ELP, Hikuleo, and Jado. Third match of the night, Suzuki, Taguchi, and Nagata take on the Bull Club team of Fale, Bonza, and Ishimori. Fourth match of the night, you got Goto, Okada, and Yoshihashi taking on, along with Hiroshi Tanahashi, taking on the Just Five Guys team of Doki, Sonata, Taichi, and Yumura. And then in tournament action, you've got Narita, Umino taking on Evil and Yujiro. All four men are eliminated. The sixth match of the night, the Chaos team of Ishii and Yano versus the United Empire team of Okan and Hinare. Yano and Ishii control their destiny. If they win, they are in the finals. But if they lose, then War Dogs versus TMDK will determine the first and second place winners of the tournament or of the A block. Seventh match of the night, you've got TMDK versus Bull Club War Dogs, Coughlin and Gabe Kidd. And then the eighth match of the night, Kiyomiya Oiwa versus the Gates of Agony. All four men are eliminated. I'm assuming that based on what I'm reading here, this is not the actual lineup for these final four matches.
Correct. Yeah, the full card order has not been announced as of this recording for the final A block night and final B block night.
Okay, so it's very likely, just guessing, but it's very likely we'll see Team DK and War Dogs in the finals, and then earlier somewhere on the card, in the last four matches, you'll see the Chaos team versus United Empire. Would be interesting, though. It would be interesting if hypothetically Team DK and War Dogs faced off earlier in the night, and then in the final match of the night, you had Chaos versus United Empire. If they're in, they win, and if they lose, then the other two teams both make it through from the results of what already occurred.
Yeah, I think for an excitement standpoint, that would be better. Yeah, have UE versus Chaos the main event, and then have TMDK War Dogs be the semi-main.
I did have a question from Discord Daddy. Any teams that have outperformed your expectations, and any that have underperformed?
I don't know if there's any teams that have outperformed my expectations, but I mean, I've really enjoyed Monster Sauce. They've been a lot of fun to watch. Kid and Coughlin have been awesome. Narita and Umino, TMDK, but all those guys are really good, so it's not like they overshot my expectations.
The teams that I knew were going to be bad were pretty much serviceable at best, so they were in most cases better than I thought they'd be. And the teams that I thought were going to be good were in many cases better than I expect them to be. The tour overall has been a lot better than I thought it was going to be in general, except for the booking.
Yeah.
The other question, that dude named Menace asked, does this edition of the Tag League seem lackluster?
No, like we were saying, this has been one of the better World Tag Leagues as far as in-ring quality since we've been doing the show in 2017. A lot of really good teams, a lot of really great matches in this tour. We said the one thing that is hurting it, I think the two things that are hurting this tournament: A, the booking, and then B, not having English commentary sooner, because I think a lot of Western fans are not paying attention or jumping in because they don't have the English commentary.
World Tag League 2023, night 14. This is coming up the next night on December the 7th from Miyakanojo City, Hayamizu Sports Cultural Center. We don't have the undercard, which is fine because I don't want to read all that. But the top 4 matches of the evening, you've got Atlantis Jr., Soberano Jr. versus Zandukan Jr. and Yotsusuji. So lots of high-flying CMLL action in that one.
Flips.
All teams are eliminated. Flips. And then after that, you've got Minoru Suzuki and Yuji Nagata versus the Rogue Armies, Bad Luck Fale and Jack Bonza. All 4 men are eliminated. And then the final 2 matches of the evening, you got Monster Sauce versus GOD, as well as Bishamon versus Just 5 Guys. The winners of those 2 matches will go on to the finals. And then on December the 8th, from City Makazono Arena, we will have World Tag League 2023 semifinals. And the way that, again, that will work is number 1 from A block fights number 2 from B block. And then number 2 from A block fights number 1 from B block. The winner of those 2 matches will go on to the Grand Meze Kumamoto finals on December the 10th, this coming Sunday, where we will see the new winners of the World Tag League 2023. We do have a question, but before we jump into that, Jeremy, I guess we should just unpack it. What are we thinking? What's your predictions? What are my predictions? What are we going to see here?
All right, so from A block, I'm booking War Dogs and War Dogs and Ishii and Yano to go through.
Wow. Okay. Well, let me ask you this, just to kind of help me out. So I've got War Dogs as well as TMDK going through.
Actually, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go with TMDK also.
All right. Okay. So if they both win their matches, okay. So the way that works is whoever wins the match between those 2 is 1 and 2.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So that kind of okay, that's going to help me out there. Doing some real time math here on the show.
Yeah, pulling up my notes here. So if the War Dogs have to win to get in, so I would have, well, I guess, yeah, the winner is first and second. So who are you gonna have win that match to be your A1?
For me, it's gonna completely depend on how things shake out for the B block just for my booking. So I have for the B block, I've got GOD beating Monster Sauce, and then Bishamon beating Just 5 Guys. So at that point, that means I'm essentially picking GOD to be 1 and Bishamon to be 2, because they've already got the tiebreaker and the points on them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Monster Sauce and Bishamon.
Gotcha. So for me, then, I think the thing that makes the most sense is, see, GOD and Bishamon are both baby faces, so War Dogs could hypothetically fight either of them. I think that I'm going to have War Dogs versus Bishamon and TMDK versus GOD.
Okay, I'm gonna do Monster Sauce versus War Dogs, and then Bishamon versus TMDK, and then you can finally have TMDK get their win back on Bishamon. They go to the finals, and then I would do...
Man, see, I hate these finals.
Yeah. The hard thing is,
I'm not a fan of these finals at all. Now that I'm seeing it on paper, I'm like, is this really what we're doing?
yeah, because because if War Dogs win, the way I have it set up, then you have a rematch of War Dogs and TMDK from A Block.
Having Bishamon in there at all kind of ruins the mojo entirely for me.
Yeah.
Fuck, bro. I don't know. At this point, you might as well just have fucking God go through, win both of them, and just unify the fucking titles, because the women's titles basically don't exist anymore. You could just unify those shits, and then the never men's title, or the strong open weight men's title, is about to get unified into the AEW Triple Crown. So I don't know. You might as well just have God go to the Tokyo Dome, whatever.
Oh man, I actually want War Dogs to win, but yeah, the scenario you laid out could make sense if they're trying to get rid of the strong titles. Yeah, you have you already had what's his face Obari tweeting out is strong greater than IWGP. You do the unification match at the Dome.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he put a question. He was like, after they beat Bishamon, he was like, is strong greater than IWGP?
Well, the other thing too, that's if you have War Dogs and TMDK both get through, as opposed to Chaos, then that opens up the possibility of a rematch somewhere down the line between those two teams again. Which I hate when they do this with tag teams. We've seen it all year long where they do stuff like that. But then if you have Bishamon in there, you're creating even more potential for multiple rematches.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all kind of classic Gato booking, and I hate it.
Yeah. I think when you lay it all out, I think it looks very favorable for God to win it all, but I want War Dogs to win it all. I don't know how it works out the right way, but I would love for Gabe Kidd and Coughlin to win this.
I mean, yeah, you could have. I mean, if you were gonna have War Dogs win the whole thing, the way I would do it is you would have War Dogs lose to TMDK, but Ishii and Yano also lose, so they go through. War Dogs beat God to go through, and TMDK gets their big win over Bishamon. And the finals is a rematch between TMDK and War Dogs from the A Block finals, and you have War Dogs beat them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the way you would do it. That's the way I would do it anyways.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with that too. I would like to see those guys go through. I mean, if I'm looking at the field and I'm wanting to push new blood, the only teams that would make sense from that standpoint would be War Dogs, Monster Sauce, just five guys, just for the fact of Yuya, but then you got Taiji there, and I guess you could squeeze them in, or God.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going all War Dogs here.
It's hard for me because, like, in reality, my heart as a fan, and this is bias, but I just think it's poetic. You should have had Umino and Narita go through. They become the 100th IWGP Tag Team Champions. I don't understand why we're not doing that. And it's hard for me to reconcile. And it's not just because I like them, because I wouldn't even say I'm the biggest fan of theirs. It just means from a booking standpoint, that just seems like the thing you should be doing.
Yeah, it made all the sense in the world. Like, if you're not putting those guys in a single program on the Dome, put them in the tag title match. Like, it made all the sense. I mean, Narita's a guy who's already had 2 singles matches on the Dome, and now he has nothing right now. So yeah, it would have made all sense in the world to put these guys in the tag title match, have them win the 100th title, give them a small little reign as tag champs, then use that, they lose a belt, and that be the thing that really gets them broken up and kickstarts their singles feud.
So if I think War Dogs for me should be the finalists coming out of the A Block, like the top one, and probably probably the best final match that you could do, it just in terms of like excitement, not in terms of match quality, but in terms of like star power and how they've been pushed and everything. I would probably do War Dogs versus God as the final.
Mm.
Nothing against, I mean, I love Monster Sauce and all that, but like I don't see them as beating Bishamon in the Tokyo Dome. And I kind of feel the same way about Just Five Guys, but I feel like the two teams that have the most viability, and who knows, we've been wrong all tournament long, but I feel like War Dogs and God would be the ultimate baby faces versus the ultimate bad guys, the former Bullet Club members versus the current Bullet Club members. You know, that would be, and none of those guys have won the tag team titles, but they've all been strong champions. That's probably the finals you should do.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm down with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And then, you know, whoever goes through, just have them beat Bishamon, I guess.
Yeah.
Doesn't at this point, the unfortunate truth is I don't care which one wins. and that sucks because I should care a lot more. The tournament's been great, but the fact of the matter is I'm left wanting at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, we got the finals there. So, yeah, that'll be December 10th. On the final show, we did have some big names announced. We had a question here from Barry Walsh who said, just saw 4 top stars announced for December 10th, and it's the top 4 homegrown stars. If Finley shows up December 10th, does him not being present and also not being announced make him seem like an afterthought and feed in the comments about him?
I haven't seen who's announced for that show. So I'm assuming like what's the deal? Like Osprey and Mox are on the show?
No, they announced like I think like Naito, Tanahashi, like top 4 domestic stars, Okada. They announced them all for like the final show. But they haven't announced like Dave Finlay yet.
Well, he's not on those guys' levels.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get the question. Is he he's not seen and viewed by the company as one of those as a caliber star as those other guys.
Yeah, and I mean he's not a draw on the level of those guys, so it doesn't surprise me that they're not, doing a big graphic. Hey, Dave Finlay is going to be on the World Tag League Finals. So yeah, which again sucks. Why he's in the 3-way match at the at the Dome.
We did have one last question here before we move on to the news.
Yeah, Death Triangle 720 says, could you potentially see the heavyweight tag title match becoming a 4-way since the champs have been pinned during tour?
Unfortunately, yes, I could see a situation where we wind up with like a 3-way or a 4-way scenario, but I'm never a fan of it when it's, a multi-month long tag league final. The whole prestige of the tournament is the winners of the tournament go on to challenge for the title at the Tokyo Dome. And I hate, and I mean, this has been pretty consistent in the times where they have done this and they've shoehorned in another team as a challenger. It negates the entire purpose of the tournament to begin with.
Yeah, I feel like they haven't really done that for the tag titles lately for Wrestle Kingdom. I know they've done it in the past in the kind of the middle of the year, but it seems like they try to keep it 2-on-2 for the heavyweight tag titles, and then the junior tag titles they'll throw 3 or 4 teams in there.
I think the last time they did it was with the Young Bucks, when the Young Bucks just showed up at the end of the tour and were like, "We want in," and they're like, "All right," but they've done it even prior to that.
Yeah,
they've done it a few times, so yeah. Well, let's jump into the news. So, big story. Everyone's talking about it today. Everyone will stop talking about it probably tomorrow. But Kazuchika Okada is said to be seriously, quote unquote, seriously entertaining the idea of signing with a promotion other than NJPW. Sports Illustrated is reporting. Okada's current contract expires at the end of January. When Okada wrestled on Dynamite in October, the purpose of his trip was not solely to advance his feud with Bryan Danielson ahead of their Wrestle Kingdom match on January 4th. That Dynamite in Philadelphia also allowed Okada a chance to acquire a better sense of AEW which is one of the two destinations he will land if he opts to exit New Japan in the coming year. We had a question from that dude named Menace. What are the chances of Okada leaving?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting thing that came out today. And first of all, I think it's important for us to remember that New Japan guys typically sign year contracts that run, February to end of January. So most guys' contracts are up at the end of January. They renew in February. And, you see the, Tanahashi, thing every year. Tanahashi has resigned. Like, of course he's resigning. And
the ace is staying. He's not leaving.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to downplay this because it does seem like there's a little smoke to the fire here. Okada, he's 36. The yen is down. We joked about it, but the yen is down. And so if he is looking for an opportunity to make more money and potentially wrestle in the States, and yeah, there's an opportunity to make money there with AEW or WWE, but I feel like this is just kind of thrown out there. People find out, oh, his contract ends, and they're trying to make more of a story than there is. As of right now, I'm expecting Okada to resign.
Even if hypothetically Okada was planning to stay with New Japan, which is entirely possible. I don't know why my voice cracked there. Possible. But it wouldn't be unwise of him to send some feelers out there and put the word out there, because if you are New Japan and you're seeing people jump ship and you're worried about losing your flagship star, maybe you'd be more inclined to give him more of what he wants and use him to a greater extent in the coming years, provided you can see his desirability with outside larger companies than yourselves. So it's not really an unwise decision on his part to kind of play the field. At the same time, there are reasons that we highlighted last week where he might stay, family ties, having a kid, his wife's career, his allegiances to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and, his security at the top spot there. At the same time, everyone else that has kind of honed in and added their 2 cents has kind of mentioned he has done virtually everything there is to do in the company. Maybe he is looking for a new challenge. Maybe he wants to broaden his horizons. Maybe he would be looking to work in not necessarily easier style, but a softer schedule. He is 36, and this will probably be the last, depending on the length of years, it'll be one of the last major contracts that he signs in his 30s. And, the health span of a top end wrestler only goes so far. And, if he is looking to provide for his family and everything like that, maybe he is potentially looking to make a jump. That I wouldn't even put that outside of the realm of possibilities. It would be, in my opinion, extremely detrimental to New Japan Pro Wrestling if they lost Kazuchika Okada. At that point, that would be fucking horrible for them.
And I said this in the group chat earlier today. If Gato lets Okada and Ospreay leave without putting anybody over on the way out, he is getting drafted next year in FOH, and he does need to FOH, and we need a new booker.
It's not even just him. Management, Kami Obari, those guys need to also take a look at what they're doing and, figure some things out. I saw a very negative tweet earlier today, again, from friends of the show, Super J-Cast, where go ahead and read it. They were basically saying, this company needs to figure out what the fuck they're doing, because there's a lot of things that they're privy to that they're not talking about, where they're like, not only are fans not going to want to watch your show, but people aren't going to want to work there if you don't get your house in order,
Mm-hmm.
And so, who knows, but I'm saying personally, and this is just my own guesstimation, I don't think he jumps.
Yeah.
I think he's just in a very comfortable spot. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we've heard stories since the pandemic of people taking pay cuts. And I know that, like you mentioned, the economy is not doing the hottest and the company's not necessarily at their most profitable, but they're at a point where you can't afford to lose Okada. So you give him whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah. And, there's a ton of new guys for him to work now. Is the whole story of him facing off against, the next generation of guys. And you got to have one of those guys beat him. So there is a lot. It's not like a lot of accomplishments for him left to do, but there's a lot of new opponents and stories. He can kind of be that kind of Tanahashi to these younger guys.
The last thing I'll say, just as a fan, AEW would fuck him up and WWE would fuck him up in different ways, but they would 100% fail to capitalize on Kazuchika Okada. Mark my words. He would not be a top-end star or a top-end draw. There would be benefits to him, certainly, professionally, monetarily. He would benefit. And I'm not even saying he shouldn't take those benefits if he so chooses. But from a character standpoint and a star standpoint, they would 100,000% fail with Kazuchika Okada. It would be an indictment on the booking of both Triple H and Tony Khan at that point. I promise you.
Man, send that man to CMLL.
I don't think they would. I don't think they would know what the fuck to do with him either. I honestly don't. Moving on, tickets will be available to fans worldwide for New Year's Dash starting Friday, December 8th at 10 a.m. Japanese Standard Time. So if you're going to be in the country, you want to attend New Year's Dash, tickets will be available. Or they already are? Yeah, they already are. No, they're coming up.
Yeah,
I don't even know what date. I don't even know what the date is.
This Friday.
Masa Kitamiya has called out Tomohiro Ishii for a singles match at New Year's at the New Year's show at the Ariake Arena for Pro Wrestling Noah. So big meaty men slapping meat.
Yeah, let's do it.
Saturday, December 16th, Crystal Palace, National Sports Center, London, UK, Rev Pro Uprising. Zack Sabre Jr. versus JJ Gale has officially been announced for that show.
Yeah, should be fun.
And then finally, this past weekend, Chris Hero and Kenta teamed up to take on Kevin Blackwood and Titus Alexander at West Coast Pros Monster. Glad to see Chris Hero back in the pro wrestling ring. We shared a tweet earlier today. I loved where Kenta cut a promo and he said, "I just want to say one thing. I'm home."
Yeah, Kenta has not let his hate for CM Punk die down whatsoever. And
he's a clown, bro. Not well, both are, but like Kenta is just a hilarious. Like he's always clowning, bro. He's so funny. Yeah,
I saw a tweet. I think it was last week. He was like, "I hope CM Punk comes up with a new finish, so then I could steal it." Oh man. So we have a few questions here, and then we'll wrap things up. So our man Rod Easter, first question here, he says, Bolton or Ocon, who you got in a shoot?
I have not seen enough from either gentleman when it comes to their actual like credentials in terms of mixed fighting to know who would win in a shoot. Giving it the eyeball test just based off of pure optics, Oleg Bolton looks like the more fit individual of the two. But, as far as I'm aware, and maybe I could be wrong here, but I only know of his, collegiate and, amateur professional wrestling accolades. Whereas, they say Ocon is trained in a variety of other martial arts, which maybe could give him the edge. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, that is hard, but like when I saw, Ocon and who was he shooting there with recently?
Yano?
Yeah, him and it wasn't Yano. It was some
Oh, you mean during the tag league match?
Yeah.
Was it him and Oiwa?
Yeah, it might have been Oiwa.
We talked about it last week on the show.
Yeah, we did. I forget who he was. Yeah, there was one match where they were exchanging a bunch. It might have been Oiwa, and Ocon looked really good.
Ocon does look good. from what I understand, Oleg Boltin topped out at a higher level when it comes to like the world rankings of amateur wrestling, which that's not an easy feat. But I mean, Okan is, there's a reason in MMA you need to know more than just wrestling in 2024. So in a real shoot, depending on the rules, I would give the edge to the guy that knows more about mixed fighting. Then again, Oleg Boltin, guy's name is Oleg Boltin. How am I to know he doesn't know? He might know some fucking sambo. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Might pull out some
I don't.
Krav Maga or something.
Well, Krav Maga is Israeli military fighting, but I don't know what his background is. Maybe he can fight. I don't know.
Yeah. The other question is, with the word that Bushi Road has financial issues rebounding from the pandemic, any take on why that is? Just about every other major company seems to be doing well, but many Japanese companies are still struggling, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, without delving super deep into it, most of these companies operated and behaved in a much more ethical and moral way during the pandemic, and were also had their hands tied for a much longer period of time during the pandemic than their Western counterparts did when it came to the relegations of the different cities, counties, and municipalities and stuff like that. Like in terms of what attendance size, people being allowed to cheer, and they just went through a very difficult time. Like the company was operating at a deficit for a good portion of that period, and a lot of people had to take pay cuts, and they haven't quite rebounded since that time. And you know, they're not like AEW and WWE where they were labeled essential businesses and allowed to operate with impunity during the entirety of the pandemic. So
yeah, I think another difference too is with Western companies, AEW and WWE, they had TV contracts. We talk about this all the time. Like, yep. Western wrestling is about the TV deals. That's how they're making money now. They're getting most of their revenue from these big TV deals, whereas most Japanese promotions are live event based. So you lose 3 months of live event based business, then yeah, it's hard to recover. And like we mentioned, they quote unquote, they say they were like only, a couple months more from closing New Japan altogether had they not came back from the pandemic. So it's still, rebounding. They took things a lot more seriously. We had the whole clap crowds and limited capacity. So they were losing out on, the chance to get full houses or, bigger gates with the limited capacity. So, yeah.
Yep.
The next question here from Pumping Bama. It's obviously not set in stone yet, but at this point, none of the Musketeers and Yuya are on the main card of Wrestle Kingdom. Do you think it's time to have a serious discussion about the future of the booking team if it stays that way?
Yes.
Yeah. If these guys are not on the dome and there's not big plans for them, we need a change on top quick. Then last two questions here from Death Triangle 720. Do you think the New Japan could pull what they did in 2018 when they decided to change plans and have titles change hands before the Dome?
What titles changed hands just before the Tokyo Dome?
That's what I'm trying to remember, because
I think maybe he's referring to Will Ospreay beating Taichi for the Never title just before he fought Kota Ibushi. Did that happen?
Yeah, that might have been it. But when was that match? I don't remember.
I don't think it was at Tag League, and I don't think it was at Road to Tokyo Dome. And actually, I could be wrong there. Wasn't it Kota Ibushi that was the Never champion going into that match? Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and then Ospreay won the belt from him.
But I think Ospreay had to beat Taichi to get that title shot. I don't remember what titles switched hands in 2018 just before the Dome. And the only belt I could see changing hands before the Tokyo Dome is the KOPW.
Yeah, I feel like everything's gonna be pretty set in stone. Well,
I guess, the strong open weight, or I'm sorry, I keep saying strong. Yeah, the strong open weight title. Who knows? That could change hands, but I don't even know. I don't even know if that's even going to be on the dome. And then, the women's belts, all those titles that don't really exist anymore, those ones could all change hands. But the real titles, nah.
And the last question, do you guys think Rocky should be a part of the creative team for the Japan side when Strong dies?
Well, I don't know that he's not already involved in creative on the Japanese side of things. I'm not really sure who's on that creative team entirely. And I'm also not sure that Strong's, slated to die. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Rocky has booked Strong really great, and those are fun weekly TV shows to watch, and it seems like he has a lot of great ideas and would be a good voice to have in the room. But like you said, maybe he is in the room, and we don't know. But yeah, I think he would be a beneficial guy to have in the room if he's not in there already. Well, that's it for the questions, and that's going to wrap the show up. So like we mentioned, be on the lookout for our year-end awards coming out probably sometime the end of next week. And then next week we'll be back to review the semifinals and finals of the World Tag League Tournament. So if you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation. Visit socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media. On X, the show is at KI Strong Style. You can follow the network at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, you can find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group and facebook.com/Social Suplex. On Instagram at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy, just keeping a strong style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted with Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite, hosted by Floyd Johnson Jr. and Austin Tumowitz. Imp's WWE Adventure with the Implications Matthew Mayer. And Wrestling Art with Chris Things. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping a Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.